Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Leadership Satsang. Thank you so much for joining in and for accepting me as your leadership coach. My name is Yukti Kapoor Mehendiratta, and right now here in Mumbai, India, it's 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Hence, good evening, but good morning, good afternoon to you all, wherever you are logging in from right now. Thank you so much for making time for this discussion. What we're going to talk about today is an extension of what I touched upon last week in our satsang session when we've talked about meditation and mindfulness. Today, let's spend a little time, little more understanding of what mindfulness means and how can we bring that into our ability to lead. So, a very big thank you once again for those who are here live with me. Krishna, hi. Hiren, hi. Very good evening. Let's quickly hear from you all. Whoever is logged in right now, let's see you saying hi. So many of you I know already. It feels like we've known each other for a long time. Jay, you're one of that person in my list of those who I expect every Tuesday evening. Hiren, of course, Krishna, thank you for being here. Everybody else who's joined in, just drop in a hi. Let me know which part of the world you're joining me from. And once you do that, let us just settle back in for a bit and experience this session. There's going to be a little more of listening today, a little less of interacting on the chat. But I do want to encourage you to put your thoughts down on the chat. I might not be able to pick it up because I want to go a few levels deeper today in the space of mindfulness and mindful leadership. So allow me to do that. But what I do want you to do alongside is to keep putting your thoughts in the comments box, right? So whatever's coming to your mind, whatever is opening up for you, whatever you're liking, your views, your questions, please keep putting that out in the comments box. And after I conclude today's session, or maybe sometime in between, I'll definitely have a look and pick up your questions if there are any. All right. So let us start with understanding what is mindfulness. So I'm curious to know, what is your understanding of mindfulness? Let's have that in the comments box. Hi, Shiva, Nagendra, tell me, Bharat, what is your understanding of mindfulness? Good evening, Adil, Azhar, Pratik, a very big hi to all of you. I'm curious to know, what is your understanding when somebody says mindful? What does it mean to you? Feeling calm and composed. Okay. That's a feeling you get if and when you are mindful. I get that, Bharat. Okay. What else? What is your understanding? Shiva says presence of mind. Presence of mind. Interesting. Okay. Any other version? Any other understanding of mindfulness? Focus. So, mindfulness helps us to bring in focus. But what is mindfulness? Living in the moment, Gaurav says. Yes, living in the moment. Mindfulness helps us to live in the moment. But the meaning of mindfulness is to be able to see clearly so that we can respond more effectively. I'll say this again. Mindfulness is to be able to see clearly so that we can respond more effectively. Now, how do we bring in the ability to see clearly? Is by being in the present moment. And when we are in the present moment, as someone said, then you do bring in more awareness about yourself and the environment. So, Himanshu, when you talk about being aware, that comes in when you are in the moment. And when you're in the moment, you allow more clarity to come in whatever is happening around you or within you. So, mindfulness is a practice that can be a part of anything and everything that we do in our daily lives. It is not something that requires a separate hour, it is something that becomes a part of everything else that we do. But like anything else, it requires practice. We need some bit of practice to make mindfulness become a part of everything that we do, including the way we lead. So, before I share with you how to use mindfulness to become effective leaders, let me first open up a few elements of mindfulness for you all. Once you understand what these elements are, you can then bring in mindfulness in everything and not just leadership. You could mindfully eat, you could walk mindfully, you could talk mindfully, you could listen to people more mindfully. Whatever action you perform, whichever way you behave, you could be more mindful of that once you understand the elements of mindfulness. So let me open up my mind map on that note, and I request you to start creating your own as I take you through it. All right. So I hope you see my mind map now. Can I get a confirmation, please? Just a moment. Let me make another attempt. Yes. All right. So, as we look at mindful leadership as a term, it obviously breaks down into two terms, right? So, it's a summation of mindfulness and effective leadership. And that's what comes together as mindful leadership. So, the elements of mindfulness are first intention, right? Intention tells us why we do what we do. The intention behind you being here right now, for example. So let's just take a moment and feel a little more relaxed than otherwise. And if you feel comfortable, I would invite you to close your eyes just for a few moments and ask yourself, why are you here for this session? Why are you listening to this session? What is your intention behind being here? And the more you bring this attention in the forefront, the easier it becomes for us to be mindful. Instead of doing things because they are to be done, when we do them with the intention of doing them and being clear about why we are doing it, it helps us to do the same thing more mindfully. And that forms the first element of mindfulness. The second element of mindfulness is attention. Attention tells us what to focus on. What is it that I need to pay attention to? What is important for me? So I read a very interesting quote somewhere that says, the most important thing to remember is the most important thing. Think about it, right? The most important thing to remember is the most important thing. Do you know what is the most important thing for you? Because wherever your attention goes is where energy flows, right? So the energy is limited. We all have limited energy. Now, either it gets channelized and used constructively, or it gets dispersed and dissipated, and that's when you feel all over the place. Or you feel exhausted in the middle of the day, or sometimes you even wake up feeling exhausted and tired, isn't it? And that's when you know that you're not able to channelize your energy well. And that's when I would request you to sit back and think, where is my attention going? Because if it's not going towards what is important, then it is indeed a waste of my energy. So, attention tells you what is important and what is it that you want to bring in this moment. When we say mindfulness is about being in the moment, what is that moment that you are bringing in into your present? And the third element is the attitude. Attitude brings in the how of mindfulness. How do you do what you do? Even if you bring in a practice like meditation with the how of it being a chore, it does not solve its purpose of making you a mindful leader. Think about it. The attitude with which you do what you do is more important than whatever you do. Even if whatever you're choosing to do is a very meaningful thing, very important, the whole world says unanimously that this is the best thing one can ever practice, yet your reason to do it or the method of doing it, the attitude with which you do it is that of judgment, is that of proving, then it doesn't work the way it is supposed to or it should work for you. So when we bring in mindfulness, the attitude that is encouraged of you is that of kindness and curiosity. Kindness towards yourself and allowing yourself to feel good about the effort that you're making instead of putting a gun on your head and shooting yourself down for not doing it the way you think it should be done. Because the moment you go in that direction, you are under what I call as a performance pressure again, right? I need to perform this meditation really well. I need to be in this Zen walk and walk the Zen way, the way it should be done. There is no should to it. There is only a willingness with an attitude to be kind towards yourself and the curiosity to see what comes up next. How do I feel next? I don't know, but I'm curious to find out. That is the attitude which is required for us to experience mindfulness. So I'll stop here for a moment and check with you guys. How are you feeling? Where are you? Some comments on what's opening up for you and what are you understanding of mindfulness as I talked about these three elements. And then I will take you towards becoming an effective leader using mindfulness, right? That there's a lot of learning in store there as well. But what's opening up for you? What are you taking away? What has been the biggest takeaway so far? Salaudin, Hiren, let's hear it from you. Bharat shares the most important thing to remember is the most important thing. Absolutely, Bharat. Thank you for making a note of that. I'm curious to know, Jay, what's opening up for you? Prashant, Harish, Adil, Gaurav, what are you taking away so far? What is it that has stayed back with you? Really nice and quite practical. Thank you, Salahuddin. Any other thoughts, Shiva? Let's hear it from you all. Azhar, Pratik. Keep putting that down, guys. It's really, really important that we take a moment and reflect upon what's happening and what are we taking away. Because when you do that, then it goes a level deeper in your subconscious, right? Otherwise, you will feel nice about it, perhaps, hopefully, but it'll very soon, fade out because it will not stay with you. The best way to retain is to share. So let's see what is some sharing coming here. Prashant says curiosity is what you're taking away. Thank you. Energy flows where attention goes. Shiva. Harish, I agree. For performance, mindfulness is must, but how to deal corporate pressures? Yeah. Uh, I'm a strong believer of the fact that pressure is not something anybody can give you, but it is something that you take upon yourself. Think about it. And if we have an opportunity to meet sometime, Harish, then I'll elaborate on this more and we can have a separate discussion. But think about what I just said. Embrace the present moment, nurture inner peace, and discover the beauty of life's subtle wonders, Jay. So beautifully put. Focus on why, what, and how in sequential order. Gaurav, wonderful, super alert. One has to be in for most important, Kailash. Curiosity for Harish. Thank you so much. Excellent explanation. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Let's now take the next step forward by bringing in these elements into the space of leadership. Let's get ready for this exploration with the attitude of curiosity. So, to become more effective as a leader and be more mindful in your practice as a leader, I want you to bring your attention to these three A's. The first A is authenticity. Now, what does authenticity really mean? If we were in a workshop right now, I would have spent the next maybe 1 hour talking only about authenticity because there is so much to be cleared up, so much to be understood about what authenticity is and what it is not. But for today's satsang, I want to touch upon a formula that I have come across which explains authenticity really well, just sums it up beautifully. So, authenticity is honesty minus self righteousness plus vulnerability. Let me simplify this. Authenticity is about being honest, but without holding this strong sense of your rights and your wrongs, and allowing yourself to be more emotionally available, vulnerable towards people around, so that you can build real connection. Real connection is built when trust is formed. And trust is formed when people can see other people, as humans, and not with their titles alone, not with their power alone, not at their positions only. When we create a genuine human to human connection, is when we build what we call as a team. Otherwise, it is a group of people working together. And in a lot of organizations, I see people fooling themselves and the rest of the people around, believing that they are a team when they are just a group of people working together. That group becomes a team when there is trust that gets established at the core of everything and anything that you do. And that is not possible unless we allow vulnerability to come in. At the same time, we need to be able to drop the lack of flexibility to be open to other people's rights and wrongs. And that's where self righteousness comes in. So, your authentic means you can say what you feel, you're honest about what you say, and you mean what you say, but you're not hell bent on it. And it's not my way or the highway. I'm still open to being challenged. I'm still open to listening to what you might have to say. And in the process, we are going beyond just being transactional and creating what we call as a real connection at an emotional level, at an edge to edge, human to human level. That is the real meaning of authenticity. So you bring in mindfulness in your leadership by practicing authenticity in a manner where it allows you to say how you feel, and at the same time the buck doesn't stop there, and you are making space to understand people as who they are and allowing them to understand you the same way. The second A is acceptance. Now, acceptance doesn't mean if some nonsense is happening, I will just accept it and I will not say anything. And that is the real meaning of effective leadership and mindful leadership. No. Acceptance of injustice? No. Acceptance does not mean any of this. Acceptance means to understand that what is, and what will be, will be. This is how it is. This person is the way this person is. This is my limited understanding of this person. Let me add that, by the way. As much as we think we know people really well because we've lived with them for 20 years or worked with them for 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, we are far from their reality. Actually, frankly speaking, even they themselves have very limited understanding of who they are. You have a limited understanding of who you are, and I'm still working on my own understanding of who I am. And that is a very exciting exploration, if you ask me, as long as you're doing this consciously. But not many people are on this conscious path of learning. You are, and hence you are in a session such as this, right? So there's no doubt about that. But we're all maybe still a handful. There are many people out there who are not finding that motivation or reason to stop and indulge in these kind of conversations and attract this kind of learning, because for them the rules are set and the game is clear, and they need to kind of get to some finish line which they understand best, and that's their journey of life. Acceptance is about allowing people to be wherever they want to operate from, in whichever way they wish to live their life, without feeling the need to correct them, without feeling the need to challenge them, or insisting that they hop onto your path because you feel yours is better than theirs. Acceptance is about creating space for other people and allowing them to be. And then comes the third A, and that is appreciation. The best part about appreciation is that no one can get enough of it, isn't it? Do you like being appreciated? Then give me a yes in the comment box. You like, I love being appreciated. Do you like being appreciated? And that is not to say that there is lack of self-love in somebody, and hence appreciation is, brings in a good feeling. No matter how much you love yourself, There is no end to love, isn't it? And that is why appreciation is just never enough. Does not mean that we work towards anything and everything to only to get that appreciation. Appreciation is not the same as recognition. I want to touch upon this because it's very, very important that we as leaders understand what is recognition and what is appreciation. They are used interchangeably, whereas they're two very different words. Recognition is basis what you do. If you perform well, if you do something right, you are recognized for it. Sometimes that recognition could be somebody spelling it out for you and complimenting you. Sometimes it could come as an award or a trophy or a certificate or a promotion or an incentive, right? So that is recognition basis what you have done. Appreciation, on the other hand, is about what you value in the other person. It's about who that person is and not what that person has done or achieved. Do you get the difference? Right? Recognition is recognizing somebody for their work, for their performance. Appreciation is valuing somebody for who they are. So even if somebody has not achieved what they were expected to or supposed to, are there still reasons for us to appreciate them? The answer is a big yes if there is willingness to do so. And when you appreciate, what you do is you help people release serotonin, which is the happy hormone within them. And when you are appreciating, you the one appreciating, you also experience the surge of that hormone within you. So it elevates your energy level and that of the other person as well. With higher energy, is there a higher probability of you being in the moment? The answer is a big yes, once again. So when you practice appreciation, you bring in the people who work with you for the value that they add and they bring to the table, not just their performance, not just the results, but the people they are. And when you value people, they bring out their best in whatever they do. When people don't feel valued, there is very limited that you can do towards motivating them. At one point or another, you will fall short of all your incentive plans and offsites and foreign tours and whatever else that you may want to plan. It has a very limited and short-lived impact, by the way, on people. The long term impact that we create on anybody, professionally or personally, is when we truly appreciate them for who they are. Mindful leadership is about bringing in the intention, the attention, and the attitude to offer your authenticity to people because they deserve it, to allow accepting other people the way they are, and to appreciate them for who they are and not just what they do. And with that, I want to open the house for any quick comments or sharing or questions that you may have at this point. If we get recognized, it means we are communicating our achievements better. Pandurangan, yeah. So you've achieved something and you are being recognized for that achievement, and that is recognition. That's right. If that's what you're saying, that's true. What is not in our control is what we have to accept. Yes, in a way, that's right. Yeah. So if it is in our control, then we find ways to change it where possible. And when it is not in our control, then we bring in the courage to accept it the way it is. And acceptance comes with surrendering. And surrendering is a very beautiful word. You know, surrendering is not really understood for its true meaning by people. When we say surrender, it's not like just dropping your guards because there's somebody more powerful who's taken over you. Surrendering means when you've done your best and then you allow God to do the rest. That is true surrendering. Surrendering is when you have allowed yourself to put your best foot forward. You have not left a stone unturned, as it said, right? And then you are ready and willing to sit back and see how things unfold and whether you get the results that you wish to get. And if not, you'll take another step and figure out how to get there. And if you do, you relish that moment and get grounded once again and go ahead and achieve the next milestone. Is it making sense, guys? So if we come from the space of surrendering, there is a lot of peace in whatever we do, even if we're not able to achieve everything, every result, quote unquote. Can you link this with constructive criticism? Is it a part of leadership? So, a very interesting question. Thank you for asking. Constructive criticism is essentially a feedback, right? When we talk about criticism, criticizing, it has a negative connotation. But criticizing to pull somebody down, or what is the intention behind it, is what matters. If you're criticizing, calling it constructive, then it should be a feedback that helps the other person to grow. Having said that, it does not discount the how of delivering this feedback. So, because it is constructive, does not mean that we can spit on someone's face and say, hey, you know what, this is it, you suck at it, and you need to work on this. And I wish, my intention is your growth. So, I'm telling you, this is constructive criticism. It won't help the other person, right? Why? Because the moment anybody attacks you, your first response as a human is defense, right? We all have this survival instinct, all of us. And we're not so much in physical danger anymore, but there is a lot of verbal abuse. There is a lot of emotional harassment and mental stress that we are dealing with every day. Perhaps if you're in a toxic environment, we're dealing with it every day. So imagine going out of your house with the guards on all the time. How exhausting can it be to wear those guards all the time, the entire day? And then you come back home and you're still not sure if you can put these guards down. And that happens when we haven't worked on our own inner core, inner strength to create that armor without holding the weight of it. And at the same time, we've not shown boundaries to other people and they don't know where to draw the line. So it all comes back to what you can do. This is what you can do. What you can't do is the learning that other people need to have, which is going to help them to work on their how of communication, their how of giving you that feedback, which is being called as constructive criticism. So if the intention is constructive, then the method has to come with empathy. The how of it has to come from an empathetic space, right? So in the name of honesty, we can't walk over people's emotions. We can't be insensitive. That's not being honest. Honesty is when you say what you mean, but you're also very mindful of saying it in a way that it doesn't hurt the other person. You don't let go of your sensitivity in the process or in the endeavor of being an honest person. I hope I've answered your question in some way. So I'll just take one more comment because that's all the time we have in today's session. Some people are not performing as per their potential as a leader. How to maintain authenticity? Okay, so getting work done from people is a different skill set altogether. And maybe one day we should catch up and talk about this, maybe in our satsang session, or if we do a workshop on this, we'll let you know. But having said that, when you talk about authenticity, it's about letting people know what are the gaps that you identify as a leader. What is the impact that it can have if these gaps are not covered on that person's career growth and that of the team, right? So the best way to give a feedback or to share these kind of inputs about where the gaps are, and you can kind of categorize this broadly under negative conversations. Why I'm calling this negative is because there is something that the other person needs to correct, and that usually is taken upon in a negative way, that I'm wrong. You understand that wrong and right comes in very quickly in our mind. So when we have to indicate what the gaps are for people, it's best to concentrate on one specific situation. The moment we generalize things, people will feel offended again and again, they'll get defensive. You understand? So if we see that there is a delay in every submission, for example, that a task is given to this person and this person lands up delivering late every single time. Now you see this as a huge gap and you want to highlight this to the person. Instead of generalizing and saying that, listen, you're always late and I don't appreciate that and it's not working well for us, it's better to consider being specific and specific to a situation, right? To say, okay, so this morning you were late for the meeting, because of which you missed out on the context that we had. And if you were aware of that context, you would have probably come up with very good questions that I was expecting you to ask. And that would have added so much more quality to this discussion. So, can I please request you to be mindful of being on time the next time? Now, this is a one off feedback that is on one particular situation. As much as the truth is, this person is always late or most of the times, if we put this this input, and if we give this suggestion to the person for one situation alone, we allow that person to be more open to receiving it, and it's received in a much better manner. So this is what we call as the SBI of giving feedback. Be specific, concentrate on one behavior, and highlight the impact that this behavior is having, and that is SBI. And this is how you kind of give feedback in a constructive manner. So it's kind of an extension to what somebody else was talking about with constructive criticism. So that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much. There are a lot many other comments, and I will go through that when I can and respond to it. Thank you so much for joining in today for this episode of Leadership Satsang. Let's continue these discussions. Let's continue to keep going deeper. Let's keep growing and keep learning consciously. Thank you so much. God bless you all.